So anyway, Feeny, like I asked him, if the time's going on, blah 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 blah. I can't remember. Can't remember the joke he makes. Oh, that's annoying. Don't you hate it when your Boy Meets World brain just won't shove out the quote that you know you said many times?
Oh, totally. When these dads meet world, watching Boy Meets World. We grew up on the show, now we have kids and host a podcast. We watch each episode and then share our thoughts and grades. When these dads meet world.
They want you to take the roles.
No, they are wrong. They are from the dark forces of the anti-government.
No, they do want you to take the roles.
Welcome back to Dads Meet World, where they do want you to take the rules and we want you to have them. I am your dad number one this week, hosting your weekly podcast that dives into the world of Boy Meets World, joined on the virtual microphone and the real physical one on his end of the line. Tyler, there is cake.
There is cake? Oh,
there is
yes.
cake, according to your screen.
That's my little tag. I never know if we actually recall those within the episode. If people see them on YouTube, I never pay attention. So
they don't. These are just for us.
Yes, there is cake. Although, like always, Pop-Tarts for me.
Yes, yes. Oh, good-looking people, welcome back to Dads Meet World. It's always fun. Tyler, how's life going for you? You got your litter of 3 now running around the house.
You know, you think that going into the summer break, it's going to be a nice, relaxing time period. But when you bring a third in right at the end of school, there is no such thing as a summer break and no chance for relaxing. Because baby's on its own schedule and it doesn't care. Mm-hmm. And the older one that's now at 18 months doesn't fully get the concept of just go to sleep. So it makes, this nighttime period of trying to get them to bed so much fun. And our oldest is now at a point where he could go to bed really any time and be somewhat okay the next day. Likes to get up super early and doesn't bother him the lack of sleep he gets. So we're in a really weird phase of our life right now.
The no sleep for Tyler phase.
Basically, yeah. When you added all my jobs and when I sleep, yes. Brett, what's new with you? How goes it?
It's going well. We had the 2 of the 3 kids out for a camping trip over the weekend. Broke in a new tent.
Nice.
And nice little 2-minute pop-up tent, big cabin tent. Supposed to sleep 10 people. If you have 10 normal-sized people in just a sleeping bag. Oddly enough, my middle child, our oldest son, decided to take a ginormous you check the bag on an airplane suitcase with him. I don't know what he needed because he had that and a backpack for a 2-night camping trip. And I know the backpack was packed full of books, so I don't know what was in that suitcase. I had just a weekender bag myself. I don't know.
I mean, you'd only take the things you need. That's the whole point of going camping.
Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, we had did some stargazing, did a little bit of hiking. The place we were at had some fishing, so Toby and I did a little fishing. Good-looking people, if you're a little bit squeamish, skip ahead about 30 seconds. Toby's first fish, his first cast, fish swallowed the hook.
Nice.
And we were fishing with hot dogs as bait. These fish love the hot dogs for some reason. And we lost 2 hooks. One the fish swallowed. Another one because for some reason there were like 3 fish that the hook went in the mouth and out the eye socket or right by the eye socket.
Huh.
And one of the other hooks I couldn't get out of the eye socket, so I had to cut the hook and we lost that hook. But he caught a lot of fish.
Good.
And managed to catch 2 fish without bait.
Nice.
Briefly. You just dunk the line in the water and pulling it up, there was a fish on the hook
Nice.
briefly.
Yeah.
So
We tried to go fishing
a lot of fun camping.
few weeks back, and our problem was that our hooks were too small, and so every time a fish would bite, it was not latching into the hook at all. So every time I tried to pull it back, it would just fall. It would just come out of the water instantly, or it would get caught in all the little pond lilies that were all out. Because this little pond we have has not been fished in yet successfully. So, so yeah, so there's opportunity, but it needs to be a little maintained before I can really go back out there. Our first one we threw out, it got caught on a lily. It was like underneath the sucker, and I was like, I'm cutting the line. I'm calling it. We're losing it. The pole I got for myself, I immediately got it tangled up, and I was like, forgetting it's been, Brett, like 15 years since I've gone fishing.
Yeah.
But
yeah, we had fun.
Yeah, that's all that matters.
Fun. Lots of mosquito bites I'm still getting rid of.
Nice.
But yeah, that was, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. It's Monday, and I'm still got mosquito bites to get rid of. But yeah,
but I mean,
good fun.
For you to not get completely eaten up by mosquitoes is a good accomplishment, I'd say, on your part.
Yeah, and that's with bug spray.
Yeah.
So off, not deep woods, but off bug spray. Hashtag not a sponsor, and I don't know if I'd take your sponsorship money because you didn't work anyway. Anyway, and yeah, good-looking people. No update on TikTok. They still are ignoring me, so
Nope.
Just look for us on Facebook and Instagram, and Twitter/X.
Yeah,
I still post.
We're not
there.
paying a hacker to go in and fix it.
No, so if you see our stuff on X/Twitter, don't bother posting links to hackers. I'm not going to pay a hacker to go get our TikTok account back. No. I really don't care about it that much.
No. Maybe it was a hacker that did us in to begin with, Brett.
Maybe it was Pod Meets World hired a hacker
Probably.
to get us down.
They know we're coming for them. They know it. They're scared, Brett. They're scared.
Yep. Well, anyway, how about we focus on what we're actually here for?
That's why they drop 2 episodes a week,
episode.
Brett. That's why they're so scared of us. Nothing to do with their contractual obligations.
They've got to distract from us. Got to distract from us full-time dads with a part-time, quarter-time podcasting gig.
Mm-hmm.
Well, let's talk about our episode we're here to talk about this week. We're going to look at the 20th episode of Season 4, Security Guy.
Mm-hmm.
Yes. It's an Eric episode, good-looking people.
Yep.
After getting fired from Alan's store, Eric gets a job as a security guard. Mr. Feeny becomes concerned that Eric is wasting his potential and encourages Eric to buckle down and retake the SATs. Meanwhile, Corey and Topanga try to convince Sean to take an SAT prep course. This story was written by Mark Blutman and Howard Busgang. Meanwhile, the teleplay was by Matthew Nelson. Yes, the rare story by, teleplay by that we'll find in Boy Meets World. Directed by Season 4 director Jeff McCracken. Originally aired April 4th, 1997. Currently enjoys an 8.1 IMDb rating. Now, Tyler, last week's episode pulled in a 12.68 Nielsen rating. How do you think Security Guy did?
I'm going to go with, because there was cake, at least 13.
At least 13. Well, you would be wrong. You went a little high. 12.58.
It's not bad.
A little bit on the low side.
Again, Brett, TV shows today would kill for 12 million watching.
Oh, yes, they would. They totally
It'd be considered
would.
a big, giant success right now.
Yes, 12.8 would be ruling the broadcast TV airways these days. And if you could get 12.8 million eyes on a first-run night of drop for a streaming series, you would rule the streaming
Be
airways.
all over the social medias. There were all these memes
Oh
about
yeah.
it. Like it boggles my mind when we talk about numbers, Brett, especially when the cast does these reflections of like, we didn't know anybody watched our show, and it's like compared to today, everybody watched it.
I know. It was a different
I
time back
know,
then.
different time.
Yep. Well, Alan is getting really excited because people are lined up to get in the store. This is a camping / sporting goods store, an outdoorsman store.
Yes.
Alan's really excited. We're not sure why, but apparently Eric has arranged to have a celebrity bear appearance here in the store. Not sure where the bear is famous for being. Grizzly Adams, Gentle Ben, National Geographic. Eric doesn't know. He just knows it's a TV bear. That's just not just the bear. The trainer is there. We've seen this actor before on Boy Meets World. This trainer is played by Troy Evans. This is his second time and his last time on Boy Meets World. This was Ranger Mark in City Slackers last season. So if you want to know his acting credits, you can go back to 311, season 3, episode 11, City Slackers, and check it out. And yes, by the way, he was in Step by Step twice.
Step by step, day by day. You can't marry a moose.
So Alan wants to take care of the business end up front. $2,500. Eric agreed to without Alan's consent.
Yes.
Yeah, so Eric's making deals with this guy behind Alan's back, costing the store money. And okay, so fine, $2,500. At least if everyone outside comes in and buys a pair of socks, that'll make up for it. Well, people can't be in store with the bear. The bear's trained, right? Oh, you can't train a bear. But Eric saw this bear on an episode of Little House on the Prairie. Well, yeah, it's good with children. I love the trainer. Troy is such a great actor. I love when he shows up.
Fully commits.
He does. And by the way, good looking people, if you haven't seen this episode in a while, first of all, go watch the episode, then come back and listen. But if you haven't seen the episode in a while, the trainer has one arm.
Yep.
Yeah. But maybe the kids can come in by themselves and take pictures with the bear. Well, no. You can't have any humans in here. First, you need another $2,500 for the female bear. So Eric has now cost Alan $5,000.
So,
Not a good way to start the day.
Okay, Brett, you own a business, right? Anytime you're going to do something, there's a promo code or a potential partnership you're going to do with someone. Is there not a contract in place before you bring your equipment and you're ready to go? Like, or is it just a handshake agreement? I'll be there.
I have always operated with a contract. I have never shown up without some sort of agreement in place. I know the particulars. I know if any money is changing hand, that there's money up front. Now, I understand this is the heightened world of Boy Meets World, but I assume any animal trainer that is asking for these amounts of money is going to have the contract signed up front. Apparently, he handled the particulars with Eric ahead of time.
Yeah.
It would not surprise me that one business partner handles the particulars and another could be blindsided, but there's got to be some paperwork signed. And some money has got to have changed hands before he's willing to show up.
If you're doing a promotion with your son, would you not just double check and be like, hey, let's go through the details. Let's go through the contract. Let's make sure this fits for us. I
Yes.
get like Eric wanting to like impress his dad, like, look, Dad, I was able to do this promotion. We're gonna make a bunch of money. This is gonna be great for us. But like, wouldn't Alan be brought in on this? Like, it bothers me that we've seen so much progression with Eric. And it's like this episode alone drops the ball saying, well, Eric's been a screw up all year so far. And the only reason the store hasn't fallen apart is because we hired Lonnie for a little bit, and Alan, is basically covering for him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, Alan has proven himself to be more than competent. He managed the Market Giant for years. He can manage a store and keep it afloat. He knows the business. There's some. Yeah, I mean, you said it. There's a lot of regression here for Eric. It's the 2 steps forward, 8 steps back here to kick us off.
No, I think we're officially hitting that point of Eric is a goofball. Eric is mostly here for the joke. And every now and then he gets 5 seconds where he gets to have the passion and be right. Like, we've officially hit that point now.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, we're entering that phase of Eric where we've shifted from fully realized human to we're veering into cartoon character territory.
And that does bother me, especially it's his episode. And every step of the way, starting here, it's just kind of everyone beating up on Eric.
Yeah.
Yeah. And again, he only graduated high school a year ago.
So, yes, he's only been out for, we're really about 12 months now, TV time. Because, Corey, Sean, and Topanga are taking the SATs around this time. So, we'll say 11 months. Yeah, so Eric thinks the bear is meek and gentle. He's going to try and prove that he knows more than the trainer and gets the bear agitated, roared at, and apparently the event is just a complete loss. And from a comment he makes the next morning, there's bear stank to get out.
So I will tell you that we were watching this episode as a family. And when I say to you that the bear roared in Eric's face, I heard a noise out of my son I don't normally hear, which was pure panic. Because our 18-month-old literally was, and he just starts whimpering and crying, and I'm like, everything's okay, baby. Like, it's all right. He's fine. But very concerned and worried.
TV magic. His hair's just kind of blown back a bit, which is what the producers wanted to get across. This is scary.
Yes, but I do love, he goes, get out of here. Yeah. Where am I supposed to go? Anywhere but here.
He's fired. Yes. Alan fires Eric. Right there, he's done.
Can't train a bear?
Yeah. You can't train a bear? That's one of my... I want that to become part of my
Eric,
everyday.
Get out of here. Why? I work here. Not anymore.
Not anymore.
Not the shoe. Oh, golly.
Yeah. So we're going to say next morning, Amy's consoling Alan for firing Eric. Morgan's at breakfast table with them. She's kind of worried.
It's been 4 episodes, Brett. Of course she's worried.
Alan's comforting her that she's worried that she could get fired too.
She's not the first Morgan to be fired.
She's not been around. No. But Alan's not going to fire Eric from the house. He's just firing him from the store. He would never fire Morgan from the store.
Of course not. Also, no other children will work at the store for this reason.
No. Even though Corey could have been a good CPA at the store.
Okay. All right, Brett. Let's get into this now, okay? Let's bear down the hatchet and discuss about
Bear
the
down.
Matthews' business model. Because and I get it. It's writing, it's a fun thing, yada yada. Everything this season should have revolved around this store, making this store work, making this store happen. There should have been plenty of episodes where, Sean should have walked in and be like, "Man, I haven't seen your parents in a while." I'm like, well, they're at the store. Like,
Mm-hmm.
why don't we see Eric? He's at the store. It's a built-in reason why we're not seeing people.
Mm-hmm.
Amy's been said that she's a housewife and she's also does painting and real estate. Amy easily could have been also working at the store. And just
Mm-hmm.
everyone, including Morgan, could easily have devoted their time and energy at the store. Um, Morgan really couldn't do anything quote unquote official, but he could have had her swept or at least be doing
Yeah.
homework there. Like
Mm-hmm.
that's where her bus drops her off now, those type of things. So there's so many things that could have happened, and it should have made clear of, oh, Corey has money in his pocket because he also works at the store. When he sells stuff, his dad gives him a percentage of like a commission.
Yeah.
Sean has money this season because when he sells stuff, he gets commission. Sean would easily be a good salesman. Eric, good salesman. There's no reason why, with Sean, Eric, and Corey, and also Amy, that they are not running the store, and Alan really picking up the pieces where they're lacking.
Mm-hmm.
And the fact that they had to hire someone out, and I get it was just to have jokes and have those fun things, but like, there's no reason why the there's no reason why we're not spending more time at the store, and why Eric is considered a giant screw up, and why everything's coming down on him. And if Alan was just letting him do whatever he feels like, why? I'm clearly overthinking this whole store right now and the writer's dilemma, but it does feel like it's coming out of nowhere, Brett, that all of a sudden, oh, Eric has done a bad job this whole year. No sign has pointed to that. It's not like at any
Mm-hmm.
point Alan said, "Hey, Buttico, you need to fix this," or before even this happened, he's going, "Man, you're really turning yourself around this month. You had this idea, and now this idea. Like nothing has indicated that he's done anything of the sort of besides being a good son and a good worker."
Yeah.
And you know who's to blame for all this, Brett?
The jocks.
What goon hit me? Me. Well, what goon started this? This
The
goon.
Scoon.
I was going to say Topanga.
Topanga. Yeah, that's that
Sorry.
1997 writing just they didn't think through those things. You get 20, 22, 23 episodes a season and just we were lucky to get 10 of them that might feature or take place at the store or even mention it. But yeah, I agree with everything you say there. They definitely dropped the ball on incorporating it more as a big part of the family. I mean, you had an entire episode at the beginning of the season dedicated to the fact that this is where the Matthews are going from now on. This is the big unilateral decision. This is where Eric's college fund is going. This is where Alan's future is because
Mm-hmm.
he left the market giant where he'd been through the first 3 seasons of the show and before that. This is where Corey has to learn how to be poor because he's going to lose the security he had. All of a sudden in the TV world, everything's hunky dory, normal. And,
Mm-hmm.
we forget all that.
Yeah. Well, I will say, I think maybe what slightly bothers me about this is it's not taking into account that owning your own business is sometimes more stressful than just going to your 9 to 5. And so I almost wish we would have seen that little bit of wear and tear on Alan, of him being responsible for it. And
Mm-hmm.
it just seems like everything is perfect now.
Yes, good-looking people owning and operating your own business is nothing like what you see on TV in the 90s or most places.
Yeah.
Ah.
But
Let's check in with...
I do love that Amy is the one that is able to bring the hammer down on Eric.
Yes, because Alan is... Amy's reassuring him that it's sometimes tough love needs to happen. And very clearly, Alan was clear. You don't work here anymore. And Eric doesn't realize that Alan was serious. He comes down, says, hey, we got to go. We got some bear stank to get out of there. I seem to remember Alan earlier in the season talked about almost a partnership with Eric. Now, granted, he would be the senior partner. He's the adult with the experience. I mean, he would be, even if it was a partnership, he'd be the senior partner with any decision making. Mm-hmm. But was Eric ever on the partner level, or was Eric always an employee?
Right.
I mean, that's something to always think about. But we do see Amy drop the hammer again, since Eric didn't get the first time, and I have that clipped here for us.
Are you going to work?
Mom, yeah? Put a little food on the table, keep you in pretty things. Let's go, Pops. Oh, one thing before I forget. I gotta take an early lunch and then not come back at all because I met a really nice girl and I'm gonna have a second lunch with her. Working for your dad is so great.
Eric, you're fired.
Yeah. Okay, Mom, let's go, Pops.
No, Eric, I'm serious. You're fired.
You can't fire me. You're the mama. I work for the dada. Isn't that right, Dada? Daddy? Dad?
You really don't help yourself, pal.
It's that final line that bothers me a little bit. Because again, it's putting the pressure back towards Eric like it's your fault. Like, he could have just responded with, well, I told you yesterday, and you didn't listen to me.
Mm-hmm.
But instead, it's a scathing, you really don't help yourself. How is he supposed to respond to that? What positive will come out of this experience?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I can see it two ways. And granted, as a viewer, I have the benefit of looking at it through the eyes of the viewer who's seen the episode and knows where Alan's coming from, but also the eyes of a parent who's seen teenagers make mistakes and allowed teenagers to make mistakes. And I can see it from Alan's perspective of kind of slinking back and letting... Not wanting to take the kid gloves off that we'll get to later on, and kind of wanting to let Eric slide again and not take ownership of I messed up. Mm-hmm. And I can also see it from the other side where Eric, you were given a directive yesterday that you were done. You chose to ignore that and chose to dive back into being goofy and being lazy, because we were 3 episodes ago looking at Eric potentially being ready to be a dad from Alan's perspective. Mm-hmm. At the end of the episode, well, maybe you are ready to be a dad, seeing how responsible he was being and making the choices he was making, and Alan looking at him saying, well, maybe he's taking these things I've been teaching him to heart. And now all of a sudden here we are a few weeks later and Eric's slipping back into the laziness and the goofball. And from that perspective, I can see Alan saying, you know what? You really aren't helping yourself. I told you were fired and you choose to ignore it.
Right. And I don't disagree with that at all. And this is just part of that point of he's still a teenager.
Yeah, he is only 19. Even though the timeline of the show and the 2 or 3 birthdays he's had would say differently.
Yeah. But no, he's 19 at most, and
Mm-hmm.
you know, he's gonna make mistakes. He's gonna fall, and he's not gonna
Yes.
do well.
Exactly. Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, I'll also say that there's also a chance of after the whole Kelly and Ryan situation, he might have just been in a form of depression that allowed him to go back and just kind of coast and be lazy and not make great choices.
A very real world possibility.
Yeah, I think that breakup probably hurt him more than what he or the writers potentially were considering at the time.
Yes. And I think if Boy Meets World were produced today, that's probably something the writers would have in mind, writing a few episodes out. Unfortunately, 1997 writers didn't think that far in advance from one episode to the next.
I know.
But looking at it 30 years later, we can apply that retroactively.
Yes, we can.
Headcanon is wonderful.
It is wonderful. It's the Dads Meet World canon that we have to live with because the show can't make sense if we don't make it make sense.
Yes. So let's peek in on our B plot, which is Sean, Corey, and Topanga
Let's
getting
make a
ready
list,
for the
Brett.
SATs.
A list of colleges.
Oh, yes. Sean is given Topanga and Corey a list of colleges that all three of them, well, Corey and Topanga can go to, so all three can stay together. The University of Italy. Good old U of Its. They're going to go to classes while Sean is taking tourists around all day in his big old canoe.
Gondola.
Well, see, that's why you guys
going to
go to college. Oh, but Corey wants Sean to go to take Feeny's prep course. And I wrote down in my notes, taking the SAT in 10 minutes. Yeah. Corey's real. I have to show my cards a little early. I'm not a big fan of the way that Corey is gaslighting Sean into this SAT prep course. And I'm really not a big fan of how they rope Feeny into it.
Yeah.
I mean, as it works out for the story in the end, and it makes a good, heartfelt moment in the end, but I'm really not a fan of how they get there in the end's justifying the means.
Yeah, well, I guess part of the problem too, though, is they make it seem like, and I know they did a few weeks back. They had a episode where they were prepping for SATs.
Oh,
Yes.
oh.
And so the fact is that I feel like for Corey's storyline with the SATs, this is like weeks in between everything, where Eric's is like within a few days. Or maybe even from like the last minute of the episode, there's like a few weeks time jump that we don't get to see. But yeah, it feels like Corey's idea is if I can just get him in the room and just, he's not focused on learning anything. He's not focused on doing anything. If he's just sitting there, maybe he'll absorb some of the information and he'll do fine, which, as we know, Brett, Sean, like Eric, if he's not trying, sometimes does super well.
Yep. It's been my answer for 4 years. It's bound to be right eventually. But see, even, and I know Boy Meets World was not serialized, and I know, as I already said just 2 minutes ago, the writers in 1997 did not think this far ahead when they were plotting out episodes of the board. But we end last week's episode quiz show with Sean asking Mr. Feeny to teach him something more after their whole debacle with High School Quiz Show becoming, that's cool, and admitting on camera, I don't know anything, cool. I just look pretty, cool. And realizing the value of learning and education.
Yep. And
we're 2 steps backwards to the stereotypical Sean. I'm just gonna go show people around in my big old canoe, and learning is not, I here's my level, and that's it. We've seen Sean realize there's value beyond going what he thinks his ceiling is. We've seen him multiple times this season realize that the ceiling he's always been taught is much lower than what it really is for him. And so for him to be that's really my problem with him being gaslit here is instead of Corey trying to rope him in with cake, as funny as a joke as it is, and I love the visual of Sean just eating cake while Eric's looking in the window.
Yep.
Corey has seen Sean realize many times that Sean knows there's more beyond that ceiling he's been taught. Corey's been involved in that message.
Yep.
I think Corey took the wrong route. And that's really my problem.
But the problem is, Brett, is they're the B storyline.
Yes, they are.
And this show, if you have a B storyline, it has to be the funny line.
Oh, yes.
The B story cannot have any sort of depth to it whatsoever. That's the reason why in a few seasons we'll have Eric getting his head hit by a dumpster because he's the B storyline, or him torturing his roommates because he's the B storyline, or acting like a Shakespearean, drama poet. Because again, B storyline. Eric is always the B storyline, and when Corey is the B storyline, it has to get a little on the weird side, and Corey takes shortcuts. It's the best way to put it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
In a way, though, he is conning and gaslighting his friend into taking SATs. But I will also say, maybe this is Topanga driving this, though.
Yeah, and just as an aside, this is another Topanga's Just There episode.
Oh, yeah. Topanga's
just there in the passenger seat for this whole B plot.
Yeah. I really can't wait for next season, because at some point Topanga becomes a real person, and she's not yet.
Not yet. Almost.
She's
almost
pretty.
there.
She's pretty, Brett, and that's what counts this season so far.
Yes, we're taking steps. But let's peek in the kitchen. We'll leave the B plot for now. Let's peek in the kitchen. Alan is having a conversation with Amy, and I clipped part of this conversation.
There's so many times I should have fired Eric, but I didn't. I would have been admitting that I was a lousy boss. Or worse, a lousy father.
Oh, Alan, how can you look at Corey and Morgan and think you're anything but the best father?
Well, then why am I having such a difficult time with Eric? It's not like I did anything different with him.
We did everything different. We both did. I mean, he's our firstborn child. We coddled him.
Oh, I didn't coddle him. But Eric's very different than Corey and Morgan. He needs to be protected.
You really think that's going to help him?
Yes, I do.
You really think that?
Yes.
You saw that
Brett,
look
being
Amy
that
gave
you
him.
Being as how you have 3 living babies, and they're all on the older side, would you say that you and your wife have raised your oldest differently than the other 2?
I would say we have. Yes. And I would say yes, there have been times where it has been beneficial, but there have also been times where I look back at it and say, yeah, that wasn't such a great idea that we did this differently, and we did this differently with the other 2. It's a learning process.
Yeah.
With each one. And to an extent, you need to raise children differently because they are each individuals. There are broad strokes that each child needs, and there are individual things that you need to do individually with each child. And I mean, you've already, I'm sure with your 3, you've already picked up on that too.
Oh yeah.
And with, I'd love, there are so many times throughout the run of Boy Meets World since I became a dad that I have found myself more and more and more relating to Alan.
Yep.
And in these Eric post-high school years, actually Eric high school years and Corey high school years, and I'm finding more and more that I just jive with Alan so much. But as I have a high schooler about to enter her senior year of high school, I'm
Which isn't real.
finding, yeah, so much odd comfort in diving into these scenes with Rusty and the way he embodies that type of dad. And knowing that he's got a wife that when he says, I never coddled him, or and however he puts it, and he turns around and Betsy's just sitting there with that smirk on her face like, yeah, you did. They both know it. They know he's a firstborn child. But it all serves the story. He's finally, after 19 years, he's finally had to face this fact that he's got a great relationship with Eric, but he's also had some areas where he's got blind spots with Eric and how he's treated him as a dad.
Yeah. I mean, some of the children, for their first birthday, you just go with a store-bought cake because that's what you got. And, for others, you bake a sugar-free, dairy-free, applesauce-based vegan cake that the baby doesn't eat, Like, there's differences in the way you parent.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good joke just for the two of us, and she'll never know because she doesn't listen to the podcast.
She doesn't listen.
I think that's why our wives don't listen, is because they assume we're just making fun of them the whole time.
Well, I'm sure even if they did listen, we're 35, 40 minutes in, they wouldn't make it this far anyway.
I know, they don't want to hear us this long. That's why we had to start a podcast, Brett.
They already listened this long anyway, and they tuned us out.
I know, right?
Yeah, but Amy wants to know if Alan is willing to get an outside perspective.
Yes.
And automatically we hear Mr. Feeny say Eric is lazy, and Alan gets really defensive and up in his face. Careful, George. That's my boy.
Yes, he's ready to go to blows with Feeny immediately.
He is. And, it's this overprotective Alan that, that's that part of him. That's his fiery temper, but he loves his son. And I have to say, the lighting they had in the side yard, backyard, whatever it is, for this scene, on point. This is like perfect evening sunset lighting. Just had to point that out.
Yeah, lighting in the show is pretty consistently really great. The only thing they get wrong is when it snows and when it doesn't snow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do love this scene though, especially because Alan's ready to come to blows, and all of a sudden Corey walks in. Mom, Dad, Feeny. And I just love how he's just, the way he's playing with the SAT prep book. It's like, I took your review thinking you were going to help me, but you've outdone yourself this time. Oh, you've gone beyond that, haven't you? Too much work for you, Mr. Matthews? Oh, I'll do it. I'm not afraid of you, Feeny. You remember that. I'm in the kitchen, working, and watching you. Mom, Dad. He shouldn't talk to you
stuff
like that. And I love this reaction from Feeny. Corey works hard for his grades. I don't know when, but at some point in the last year and a half, Corey really started putting in effort and work and started getting good grades.
Yes.
But also, Feeny makes it clear, when Eric tries, he does a good job. And regardless of how book smart he is smart.
Yeah. And as he puts it, Eric could get passing grades in his sleep. In fact, he did.
Yes.
But I would be hard-pressed to come up with a handful of students who are brighter, wittier, or smarter than Eric. And, I mean, Amy is very relieved, very comforted that they don't have to come down hard on Eric because he is capable of meeting their expectations.
Yeah.
And I have to say, this right here is probably my favorite Corey that we get in this part of the episode and at the end when they come back to see Mr. Feeny.
Yeah.
This studious, this kind of fitting within the rules Corey, but still kind of, I'm watching you type of Corey. but still has a great respect for Feeny. This is probably my favorite Corey.
Yeah.
Not the neurotic
He sees this
Topanga
as a
tearing
challenge.
his shirt in season 7. Yes. Someone who sees a challenge and is willing to take it on and take pride in that. Yeah.
Yep.
Not the I'm going insane season 7 Corey.
Yeah, we'll get there, Brett.
It's funny to watch.
We'll get there.
But this is probably some of my favorite Corey here.
I will say we get a little least enjoyable Alan and Amy because they are not happy with Eric stepping into the scene.
Yeah, Eric shows up in a. He's found his calling, his calling, law enforcement, and I had to clip his explanation because I just couldn't do it justice.
You took a job as a security guard?
Why would you possibly want to do that?
Oh, only for about 10 reasons. 1, walkie-talkie. 2, partner. 3, dog. 4, partner. Sometimes we switch partners. 5, you want me to keep going. 6, I pack heat.
You carry a gun?
Nope, heater. Gets cold out there in the shed.
Eric, you could do anything in your life.
Wait a second, I don't get this. Look, you fire me from one job, I go out, I get another job. What do you want, Dad? Get her off my back.
No, your mother is right. We are tired of you taking the easy way out. From now on, the free ride is over.
Oh, okay, good. Mom got you, too. That's great. That's great. How about you, Mr. Feeny? What do you think? Mind taking the easy way out?
Oh, God, not another question. Yes, Eric, I do.
Ah, great. That's great. Well, I'd love to stay here and, debate with you guys, but I'm late for work. Oh, and another thing. Don't wait up for me tonight. I won't be coming home. I'm moving out.
And there's a lot to unpack there in that brief moment. Eric got fired, and he went out and found a new job.
Yep.
It is just moving from one job to another, yes. I mean, it's not... I'm not well-versed in security, but I do know enough to know that in the type of security he's working in, it's probably not... I'm going to advance in the company and there's upward mobility and I'm going to go run my own business someday. It's probably pretty low ceiling for advancement. It's kind of a unilateral move for him.
Yeah.
Or not unilateral, lateral move for him. I would be very, very cautious about calling it law enforcement, Eric. Because at best, you might be stopping some breaking and entering. But, and to Amy's point, depending on what kind of security, it could be dangerous. I understand her fear and apprehension. And Eric is, to a point, very correct. That they fired him from one job because he was a screw-up. And they really don't have much input into what he does next. If he chose to work for them and they said no more, he gets to make the choice as to what he does next. He didn't go to college. He gave them his blessing to use the college fund to buy the store. He gets the say into what he goes into after that.
Yep. Yeah, well, I think this could just be because of me working with teenagers and me looking at Eric more as a teenager right now than the potential deeper into his 20s than, why am I blanking on his name right now? Than Will Friedle is at the moment. Because Will Friedle is definitely in his 20s, like early 20s at this point. So, like, it's easy to forget that the character is, like, 19. But at the end of the day, he does go get a different job. The biggest complaint they had with him in the first few episodes is he's not doing anything with his life. So it's not like he got fired by them and he just said, well, I'm just going to go home and sit on the couch. Like, he immediately went and got a different job.
Mm-hmm.
The fact is that, for Mr. Feeny, he believes that if people don't go to college, they're not going to be able to get the experience they need to know what they want to do with the rest of their lives, which is a very in the moment thought process about what higher education was at the time. In my opinion, just kind of morphed itself over the past few years. By the fact, that's not just my opinion. I think it's a lot of people's opinions. And the issue I have in this scene is just that, pure disappointment of just him settling. And I think if he had walked in with an apron from the market giant saying that he was hired as a cashier en route to becoming assistant store manager, that could be more alarming in my opinion. Like Eric essentially walking away from being under Alan's shoes to now on track for Alan's old shoes. Like that would be upsetting to me, I guess, if I was, if I walked away from that lifestyle, that career, and the whole goal was for my family not to be trapped in a dead end job, that could be understandable why that would be traumatizing. I think the problem is that they're trying to come down hard on him and try to give him tough love, but no real guidance on where to go. And so Eric is trying his best. He's trying to do what he thinks they want him to do, and he's apparently letting him down. And I guess it's just to say that no matter how good of a parent you are, sometimes you just hit a block where you're not sure how to help them. And everything you're saying is wrong.
Yeah, there are times where you don't have the right thing to say. And everything you say will either be wrong or be interpreted wrongly, or they're just beyond what you can offer as help, beyond just supporting. And in this instance, I don't know that even them saying what they want to see Eric do would be accepted, because Eric's not ready to hear what they think he needs to do yet.
Yep.
What Eric needs to hear and what he needs to see is actually from the stranger he's going to meet at this job he takes that they don't really want him to take.
Right.
It's like with every teenager. They're not going to listen to what you as their parents have to say. You can tell them 100 times the same thing, and until they hear it from one other person one time, the same thing you've told them, it won't click. And that is when they will hear it finally, and it will have registered something that you have drilled into them 100 times. They will hear it from someone else, and it will click. And that's really what Eric, as a 19-year-old, is about to experience.
Brett, it's almost like he really needs, like, say, a younger teacher, someone who's done a little more than just teaching, and, someone who's been around, someone who's on a motorcycle, someone a little more freer and less staunchy than Feeny. Boy, howdy, I wish this school would have one of those type of teachers.
I heard that. Now that's scary. How great is that?
Yes. Yeah, but a Turner would be super helpful in a moment like this.
Yes, and I know it's not Eric's show. Eric is a secondary player, and we got to see Sean build a relationship with the Mr. Turner. But Eric has a great relationship with Feeny, but it's not the type of relationship that he would need to hear this type of guidance from. He would need to see someone more closer to his level.
Yep.
So that he could understand the type of wisdom that he would hear from Feeny, but in his own language.
Because if I had done to me what I did to them, then I'd have done the same thing to me that they did.
But Brett,
and he would be able to interpret that.
I have a question for you that I think we really need to get into. Does turkey make mud?
I'm going to say no.
Yes. But is sugar sweeter than salt?
Yes.
Oh, golly. I love that. We go to the school and we have this moment of them trying to lead Sean or gaslight Sean. And it ends with the whole,
Let's call it what it is.
yes, we'll have cake. And Sean's just like, I'll go anywhere for cake. Feeny tries to say, it's hard work. Well, then I don't want to do it. But there's cake.
But tell them about the carnival-like atmosphere.
Yes, the
And I had a couple of notes about this. One, why would Topanga go along with this? And two, what Corey tells Feeny to get him on board. If Sean doesn't get into college, he starts washing windows, playing the lotto. Then he loses his teeth, becomes a ward of the state, and moves in with you.
What does this show have against people playing the lotto? This is the second time this show has talked
What's
down
the percentage
to people playing the lottery.
A great deep dive would be to figure out what percentage of people winning the lottery is.
Well, that's no fun.
That would be fascinating.
I will put in my notes.
Because I can't imagine it's a high percentage of winners.
I'll put in my notes for the end of the season. Deep dive on lottery.
I'm not talking about the scratchers. I'm talking like the big jackpot Mega Millions type of people. Because I know they sell thousands upon thousands weekly. But yeah, I mean, Feeny caves. There's cake from the Westchester Bakery. Cake's not good enough. They have a talent show some nights. But in between all the hoopla, learning will be happening. But yeah, there's cake. And Corey thanks Feeny. Well, what good is it if you can't get butts in the seats? And so the gaslighting continues. We're going to get butts in the seats. And we'll shift over to the store. Eric comes in with his new partner. Been a while. Yeah, about 12 hours. Yeah, it's a lot longer when you're out on your own.
Yes.
But we meet Ronnie Patel, played by Chris Iyer. First and only time we'll see him on Boy Meets World. Only 38 acting credits to his name, including shows like Sliders, Babylon 5, The Burning Zone, Time Cop, Party of Five, Felicity Judging Amy, Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Star Trek Enterprise, a lot of genre TV. 24, Scrubs, 2.5 Men, and more. Has not been in front of a camera since 2014. Don't know if he retired from acting or if he just has moved on. Not much in his IMDb about it. But Eric's going to crash with his new partner, who someday wants to run his own business and is very gracious to Alan that he feels sorry for the family, what with the mother going insane and throwing people out of the house.
Yes.
Yes. But Alan's, Eric kind of brushes Ronnie off, and Alan picks up that Eric's mad at Amy, but he's not mad at him. Well, you should be. I should have fired you a lot of times. And he lets him know that he finally figured out when he started messing up with Eric. And he started messing up with Eric the day he was born in the delivery room. And I wanted to clip more of this because the whole monologue here, the whole interaction is just gold for me. But it was running long, so I wanted to set it up. That he's talking with Eric about the day he was born. And the only thing Eric remembers is the cute little nurse that slapped him on his tushy. But the day he was born, the doctor is getting ready to hand Eric to Alan. And that's where we'll pick up.
I remember Dr. Hodges gave me these rubber gloves to put on, keep everything safe and clean. So I put them on, and then you were born, and you were moaning and groaning like you do now. And I did what every father does. I counted fingers, I counted toes, I looked at you, and you were healthy and vital, and I was happy, and I kissed your mom.
Why are you telling me this?
Because it's 20 years later, and I've just figured something out. I've never taken off those gloves. I have been treating you with kid gloves your entire life. And it's not your mom's fault. It's not Feeny's. It's mine.
All you did was love me.
Yeah, and I do. And I love Corey, and I love Morgan. But because you were the firstborn, I loved you differently. I let you get away with stuff. I let you take advantage of me. But I did a lousy job of preparing you for the world that is out there.
That's heavy stuff for a Friday night for a kid watching. To hear that is, from a TV dad they look up to hear that type of an admission. And
Yep.
as a dad who will have to explain to kids a couple of times, who may have already explained to at least one of those kids once, that there's reasons why different kids get treated differently at times. Okay, more than once. It's a heavy moment for Alan, for real life, whenever you have to explain to your kids, look, this is how I screwed up. And it only gets harder as they get older. And there's more time. Mm-hmm. But Alan has finally broken down with Eric and said, look, I haven't taken those protective gloves off for, he says 20 years, but we're looking at 19 years now. I haven't taken those protective gloves off, and I did love you differently. And there's going to be a day where I'm not here, and what happens then? Because up to this point, I've been the protector for you. I've let you get away with stuff. I've let you take advantage of me. What happens someday when I'm not here? And as a dad, that scares the crap out of me sometimes. What happens someday when I'm not here? I have a 17-year-old whose dream in a couple of years is to move to Japan. I have a 15-year-old whose dream in a few years is to move to Denmark. That scares the crap out of me as a dad, because they're going to be a world away. What happens when I can't be there for my kids? What happens when I'm not here for my kids someday? That's the kind of stuff that scares the crap out of you as a dad. So I can relate to Alan deeply in these moments. I'm just going to record that soundbite.
I really
put it in every week.
I mean, I love your willingness to allow your children to express their dreams of where they want to go. They don't realize this yet, but I'm not going to allow them to someday. So don't worry, Brett. You can keep telling them how much you love them and how they're making the right choices, and I'll tell them they're wrong. I'll take that bad cop moment. No, I agree with you. It's difficult when you have to tell your child that I messed up, and this is how I've messed up, and it hasn't been fair to you because of me. And it's not their fault. It's not that person's fault. It's my fault. And we've talked about this before, of the responsibility of being a dad, and being a dad is like being an offensive lineman. You are only talked about when you either do something really, really, really great on your own, or like one time when you do something great, or you're talked about when you are not doing good whatsoever, and everyone's like, why can't the line do anything good? And, you can do everything right every step of the way except for the one play. That's the one play everyone's going to talk about. And that's the one thing your kid's going to take to therapy, and that's the thing they have to unpack.
That's the one thing your kid's going to spend 6 years in therapy on.
Yeah. Well, like tonight, after dinner, I said to my oldest, I was like, hey, listen, let's go out and play and throw the football around. We're going to play football this year, so let's, go out and practice a little bit. I don't want to do that. I'm like, okay, well, then we're going to clean once we're done eating. Or we can go outside and throw the football around. Oh, fine. And by the time we're out there, He was the one who was running around. He was having fun. He was, you know, all over the place. He was once saying, "Can I go take a lap around the house?" Sure, take a lap around the house. I don't care. I just want you to be out here and seeing your skills are improving.
Yep.
So yeah, I mean, no matter what, we're going to do something to mess up our kids is the best way to look at it.
Yeah.
And just for future note for my children, when they go to therapy, try to figure out why they're messed up the way they are, I'm sorry.
It's on record.
It's my fault. Yes, it's on the record. You can point to it someday for them,
It's
Brett.
on YouTube. We can scan through to the right time code for you. There you go.
Yep, this could be our short for the week. Our reel.
Yes.
Not our TikTok,
Not
though.
TikTok.
Not the TikTok.
Yes. So we're going to get shift over to John Adams High because Eric and Ronnie are conveniently assigned to patrol John Adams High with a guard dog.
You know how high schools are just a bed of criminal activity, especially
Well,
on
you
SAT
figure
prep
what
time.
happened last year at the end of the year as Feeny was preparing the finals.
Well, okay, you're right. However, Brett, that was 2 years ago because I'm going headcanon. He said 20 years ago. I'm assuming this is a story from Corey's junior year. An amalgamation of the 2 years of this season.
So
So Eric's 20. He's been working for his dad for about a year and a half, and he's hit the boiling point.
So we find out that Ronnie is actually going to be studying while they're hanging out there because he has to go through the college process again, even though he's an immigrant and he already is a degreed engineer in his home country, wherever that might be. Eric just can't fathom that someone who has a degree in engineering can leave their home, immigrate to America, and has to go through the process all over again. And he looks at Ronnie and Ronnie tells him, "This isn't my dream." How does it break down here? My notes are just weird. I wrote it twice here, but anyway, basically, what it boils down to is my dream isn't to be a security guy. And he tells Eric, "Well, yeah, you're doing it. This is your dream. You're doing it." He says, "Well, yeah, look at you. You're doing it too, right?" "Well, no. I'm an engineer, and soon they'll know it." And they get interrupted by Feeny. Spoiler alert. Someone breaking into the school, and they find out it's Feeny.
Yes, with a key.
Yes, with a key. And the dog is no help. And they find out it's Feeny, and Ronnie goes back to his studying. And Feeny invites Eric to join their SAT prep class, and they have a very brief conversation, which I did clip because it carries some weight to it.
Take the class? Well, no, I don't think I'm gonna do that.
What are you afraid of, Eric?
I'm not afraid of anything.
No. You're afraid of something, and it's stopping you
Stopping me. From what?
from becoming what we all know you're capable of being.
What I'm capable of. What I'm capable of. You know something, Mr. Feeny? I'm always hearing that. What I'm capable of. I took the SATs last year. Remember? I blew them. You know, maybe I'm just not meant to be in college.
Maybe you're someone who gives up too easily. What'll it be, Mr. Matthews? Who are you?
I do love this moment. And I like how it's clear that Feeny has not given up on him. And I like that he asks him directly, "What are you afraid of? And why don't you want to step up to the plate to hold on to the potential that we all know you have?" And Eric is like, "I'm tired of people saying I have potential. Like, what am I supposed to do with that?"
Mm-hmm.
I mean, and again, it's through the lens of you go to college, you find out what you want to do with your life in college. Again, I get that. I respect that, Mr. Feeny. I know that's your end goal is to help Eric think through these things and to be able to have access to wherever he needs to go. But at the end of the day, if Eric is only using the job he currently has as just a way to get back at his parents, to take an easy way to be able to have money and not think about, what more he could do with his life, that's understandable. And I
Mm-hmm.
do love that it's kind of a 1, 2, 3 of, you know, the identity of his coworker is not security guy. It's I'm an immigrant who's an engineer, and someday people are gonna know it.
Mm-hmm.
And Feeny
Yep.
saying, "Who are you?" I love that's the last thing he says to him before he walks in, because Eric
Mm-hmm.
can't. He doesn't know who he is right now.
Yeah. And he's been told lots of things about who he is through this whole, through his whole life and through his high school career, but especially this episode. You're lazy. You're taking the easy way out. You're a security guy. You've been treated with kids' gloves. You're afraid of something. Who are you? Who are you going to be? What are you going to let drive you? And I love the question. I love the fact that he ends with that question. And it's not just him telling him what he needs to do or what he needs to hear. Well, it's what he needs to hear. But he's leaving him with the question so that he can figure it out. But just like every good Feeny lesson, he's made sure that Eric has everything he needs to figure it out up to this point. He was there when Alan and Amy were conversing with him. He has told Eric everything he feels he needs to know through this whole year off of college, off of high school. He knows Eric has everything he needs to be able to do what he needs to do. And he knows that there's just something holding him back. He knows he's afraid of something. He just needs him to figure out what it is and get over it.
Well, and there's a strong possibility too, Brett, that part of the problem through all this whole show, is most likely Eric is dealing with some of the things that we can recognize today, stuff like dyslexia or some form of reading comprehension disability. He could have ADHD. He very most likely has ADHD, but he also may have some form of ADD. There's so many ways in which if Eric is a recent graduate or even as a 20-year-old, that someone could help him to understand this is the way I think, this is the way I process, this is the way I'm able to go forth into the world. And the fact he doesn't have any of those things, because in the day and age they're in, it's either you're goals minded and you're gonna rock it, or you are lazy. And there's only those two options.
Yep, exactly.
I was lucky
So we
because
get a
one of the
nice.
things for me, since I am dyslexic, I was able to get an extension with the SATs. So I was able to have extra time to be able to make my way through it, because if I didn't, I was never going to finish it at the proper amount of time. So literally I did like half the test and then I left, and then the next day at school they said, "Hey, you can come to the library and finish your SATs." Cool. Eric
There you
also got
go.
a higher score than I did, so who cares?
Yeah. So we're gonna get a nice montage of Eric at the high school studying for his SATs outside the window. No Ronnie.
Now, is that Ronnie's
Wonder
book
if they
or is that
aren't
Eric's
partners
book that
anymore.
he already had?
I'm not sure. If it's Eric's book, they have the same
Yeah,
copy.
well, it just kind of feels like it is his book, almost like it's something he's been doing on his own that no one knows about. Or I can't remember in my head if Ronnie handed him the book or not. Because the way it all plays out, it looks like he
I
pulls
can't remember
out
either.
his own. But I could be wrong. I think I am wrong, but
Yeah, I'd have to go back and look again myself. But we get the montage. Eric's studying. He's watching through the window.
Sean's eating
Eating cake. Yep. Corey is looking at Eric, giving him a smile. And then we find out 3 weeks have passed. And we get some banging on the door at Mr. Feeney's house. We get Corey, Sean, and Topanga being all forceful and coming down on Mr. Feeny for all of his forcing them to study and everything. And it turns out to be a very heartfelt thank you to him for all of his training and his prep work. They're very, very grateful to him for what he did for them. And we get a genuine smile from Corey as they're walking away, and a genuine smile from Mr. Feeny before he goes back in the house, because his favorite students thanked him. And then we get to go to the store where Eric talks to Amy about how she fired him, and he apologizes to her for letting her down. And then he tells Alan that he said something wrong to him. And I like that Alan says, I was a good guy in all this, and you turned it around. Good for you. But Eric tells Alan that he'll always be around because Eric, is going to teach his own children everything that Alan taught him. And then he asks if Alan still thinks that he can be whatever he wants to be. And more time, either Eric hopped in on this round of SAT testing or more time has passed. Either one is an option here. I'm going to say Eric hopped in on this round of testing with Corey, Sean, and Topanga. But Eric took the SATs and his scores have come back. And he wants to open his scores together with Alan and Amy. And he got an 1120, which is 200 points higher than last time. And Alan, a very tearful Alan, expresses that he is very proud of Eric. And we get to go to the tag where we get our very, very famous Feeny call. No, I did not clip it. The Feeny call. And hi, it's me, Eric. What are you doing now? Sleeping. But he wants to look at colleges, and Pembroke is mentioned.
Yes, the first time we hear of a Pembroke.
Yes, so we get to hear about Pembroke. Yes. Yes. Harvard, that any good? I'm going to say Eric is just throwing out Harvard to be annoying to make sure that Feeny goes along with him, because he asked Feeny about Harvard while he was still in high school. So he's going to start throwing out college names till he gets his way. So Feeny's going to tells him put the coffee on, I'll meet you in the kitchen, and they're going to go through colleges together. But Eric tells Feeny that he heard that he told his parents that he thought he was smart. And just knowing that he thinks that was worth about 1,000 SAT points. Yep. And so that's kind of his way of thanking Mr. Feeny for believing in him.
It is a wonderful end to the episode for sure. A real full circle for Eric. And I will also say, for those that don't know, when you take SATs multiple times, they keep track of your scores, and so whatever is your better score, that's what gets accounted for you. So if you take it twice, if you do well on writing one time and bad on math the next time, then you do good on math the next time and bad on the writing, they'll take whatever is the highest number and then give you that number. So I think they're just taking it their old route of you did better on the test as a whole, which is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's TV magic. I took the ACTs, so.
Yes, I know.
Yes. But that is
that
Security Guy. So, Tyler, do you have any deep dives for us?
People. Am I the only one who read the summer reading list?
Here's the thing, Brett.
Here's the thing.
I was looking at, since we're talking about the SATs, because it's at the end, they mentioned that Eric got an 1100 on the SATs, which is a decent score. It's not the most incredible score ever, but it's a good score. In fact, it is. Oh, so of everyone that takes it, 1100 is roughly in the 58th percentile, and you have over 680 schools that are open to you based on that score alone. A lot of times schools will look at both your test score, but also your actual studies as well, and what type of grade point average you had throughout your scholastics. So, but having a better test score is a good thing, especially if your grades were not great. I think of Kelso from that 70s show. But yeah, so among those, I saw Indiana, University of Pennsylvania. That's in Pennsylvania, so he would qualify for that
IUP.
school. Yes.
Is University of Italy on there?
Unfortunately, no. Ohio
Ooh,
University
there's a party
is, though.
school.
University of Northern Texas. California State Long Beach.
Ooh,
San
I
Jose
bet
University.
Beach State's on there.
University of Alabama. Colorado University. Let's see. I also looked up for Pennsylvania, Penn State, and what the requirements are to get there. So the problem is that Penn State wants a high GPA going into your application. Average GPA, it would be 3.68. So, just shy of a 4.0. SAT requirements. So they don't have an official list of no, we won't accept people of this level. But roughly for Penn State, which is the biggest school in Pennsylvania, average would be 1265 would be the average of the score that they accept. Administratively, if they ask, they won't say normally. If you take the ACT, it's a 28 out of 31 score. Yes. So, well, is it? I don't know. I don't understand the ACTs, honestly. You can tell me what's the high score on that.
ACTs are graded on a there's like a 35, mid 30s is like the tops. When I took it, 21 was the state average score, and I was like a 23. That was 99, 2000.
Security guards, Brett, also referred to as a security inspector, security officer, factory guard, or protective agent, is a person employed by government or private party to protect the employing party's assets, property, people, equipment, money, etc., from a variety of hazards such as crime, waste, damage, unsafe work behavior, by enforcing preventive measures. Security guards do this by maintaining a high visibility presence to deter illegal, inappropriate actions, through parole, and indirectly by monitoring alarm systems and video surveillance cameras, signs of crime or other hazards, such as fires, taking action to minimize damage, such as warning or escorting trespassers off the property, reporting any incidents to their clients and emergency services. It also is most likely going to be taken down by Batman when he has to infiltrate the building. Maybe that's the thing, Brett. They know, as his parents, that when it comes to bad guys in the Matrix, they're going to be taken down first, no matter what.
Very true. Batman comes crashing through that skylight, man.
Yeah.
He's not going to
Just
discriminate.
made me think about Batman Forever when Batman comes to the skylight. Guy goes, Batman, yeah!
I might have to go watch that tonight.
Yes. So on average, a security guard salary in Pennsylvania is $15.55. On the low end, about $12.30, and on the high end is $19.68. So overall, as a security personnel, it's not the worst field to be in. Unfortunately, nowadays, there is no such thing as a living wage anymore. So high school diploma, working security, living at your parents' home, it's not the worst way to go out right now. I'm not sure. I couldn't find what the wages for in 1990s of what salaried workers are making. Brett, I think it's important that we discuss a little something that happened in 2009, which is we had 2 movies come out about security guards. Observe and Report, and Mall Cop.
Paul Blart.
Yes, Paul Blart Mall Cop. Brett, do you want to take a guess on which did better in the box office?
I'm going to guess just by the simple fact that I got a sequel, Paul Blart did.
Yes. Paul Blart came out in January 16th, 2009, while Observe and Report came out April 10th, 2009. So, Paul Blart got dumped out in January, where normally movies go out just to go out, and they probably won't turn a profit, and that's just the way it is. Paul Blart cost $26 million, where Observe and Report cost $18 million. Do you want to guess, opening weekend, Brett, what these two brought in?
I'm going to say Paul Blart. Let's put Paul Blart at 18 and Observe and Report at 12.
Okay, not too far off for Observe and Report. It was actually $11 million.
Not too bad.
But Paul Blart, domestic opening, Brett, $31.8 million.
Wow. Earned back its budget in week 1.
Yeah, it's pretty impressive. Yeah. On the whole, how much do you think they made worldwide box office?
Let's see. Let's go Observe and Report. Let's put that at 35 million. Paul Blart. We'll put that at 85.
Okay. You're not off by much on both of them in different ways.
Which one was I generous
Observe
with?
Report, 27 million, which is not bad. If you adjust for inflation domestically, it would be 34.
Ooh,
so not too far
bad at all.
No. Paul Blart Mall Cop, 185 million.
Way off on that one.
But you had the 85 in there, Brett. I had to give you some credit.
I might have won the showcase, depending on who my competitor was.
Yeah. But adjusted domestically, we are about $210 million.
Wow. Yeah. I should have gone a lot higher.
Yep. That's okay. And for the record, for those that don't know, because we do potentially have people listening who actually were born in 2009, depending upon who's on. But Paul Blart starred Kevin James, Kieran O'Donnell, J. May, and Observe and Report had
Seth Rogen and
Yep, Seth Rogen, Anna Faris,
that's what I was trying
Ray
to remember.
Liotta, Micah Pena. Trying to think if there's any other big names in here. Aziz Ansari, Patton
I forgot
Oswalt.
he was in that.
I mean, honestly, they probably had more people in this that would be recognizable.
It was an
The problem
R-rated
is that
stoner
part block.
comedy.
Yeah,
That's a problem. It wasn't going to gross much.
no. And Paul Blart had a lot of people in it that were not really well-known people, but you kind of recognize faces, and a lot of goons as well. So that's part of the problem.
Yeah.
But I only saw Paul Blart Mall Cop, I'll tell you that much. I did not see Observe and Report.
I saw it. I probably remember 15% of it.
That's fair.
Largely
I mean, this is back in the time when
It's-
you were introducing me to a lot of movies, so if you didn't like something, I knew about it pretty
It
quickly.
was Seth Rogen. I didn't see it when it first came out. I saw it years later on Blu-ray or something. It's a Seth
That's
Rogen
fair.
movie. It's pretty much all you need to know.
Yeah, that's very fair. So, Brett, let's get into the real crux of my frustration and bit of a soapbox / an important discussion we need to have. And that is, what type of a savings account did Alan and Amy have set up? And I bring that up because if they actually used a 529 plan, which is a school funding plan, it's designed so that you put money aside, but it also accrues interest and it helps build up. So say if you start this plan when the child's first born, by the time they hit 18, ready to go off to school, it's potentially doubled the money at least twice. Roughly, that's the whole goal of it, is that's supposed to compound and gather up money as you put money into it. Excuse me. So this is a program that's designed to go directly to schooling. It can be used for other things, such as school supplies and other of necessities like books and those type of things as well, but it's meant to be for schooling. Now, once you are done with schooling, you can liquidate and close out the account. However, you'll have a 10% fee regardless that's going to be taken out whenever you withdraw the money from it, no matter what time you end up doing it. So you can also roll that into a Roth IRA. So if you, instead of doing that, you can transfer that into a Roth IRA and thus start building money that way, or it can be used to help pay on student loan debt. But if you're straight up liquidating it to give to use for money for whatever you want, there is a penalty for that. So my question is, Brett, do you think Alan and Amy had this plan, or are you under the belief that they just had kind of like a savings account, that they were putting money aside, that both had Amy and Alan's name attached to it, and their hope was that they just didn't touch it and they could use whatever money is there for whatever school needs he had?
I'm of the opinion it was probably just a high yield savings account.
Right. We don't have those anymore, but yes, back then we had those.
Back in the 90s, yes. I don't remember much of banking in the 90s, but I'm of the opinion it was just a fairly standard savings account with a decent interest rate.
Now, are you okay? I'm going to give you the example that I mentioned to another person on the phone with right before I started this conversation with you. If your child, any one of them, decided when they graduated from school that you had this money set aside for them to go off to school, hypothetically, and they decide they don't want to go to school now, and you decide, well, I want to start a different business, and you can use that money to start your own business, would they be considered your partner in this, being that you had to use their money to do that? Or is it just, hey, my name's on the account as well, so really it's my money regardless, so I'm the one that puts the money away? Whose money is it?
That is actually a good question. That's what popped up in the back of my head the whole time I was watching this the first time through. The good me says that that kid is now a partner because that is money that was earmarked for education.
Right.
And honestly, it would depend on how much of that money was used to purchase the business as to how much of a partnership that was.
Right.
Because if that's 50% of what we use to purchase the business, that's a pretty significant partnership to be putting on the shoulders of an 18, 19-year-old.
Right.
Now, if that's, say 15% of what we're putting into the business, then that's something that I can redirect a certain portion of the what the business is able to produce and funnel that back into an account for that partner that we can then, that basically they're earning, say 15% of whatever the business earns for however long we can work something out. But yeah, I would like to think that in that situation, I would have the strength of my convictions that child would then have whatever percentage we calculated of partnership in the business.
Well, I think this is the whole point of me overthinking this, right? Because it has nothing to do with the episode itself. Because in the mindset of the episode, Eric is the employee of his dad, and that's it. But that's not taking into account when they started the business. And probably this is a problem with me watching too many episodes of Bar Rescue, but in whatever the forming of the corporation, it would be listed as if Eric is an official co-owner or if he is just an employee, like that would all have to be sorted. And if he goes from being partner to no longer part of it, like because you can be fired from the actual business, but still be considered a partner. So that's one of the ways that Eric is still able to have money and not do anything is because he's technically a partner, but he just doesn't have to work. That's called being a silent partner. And that's okay. But the writers don't care to tell us any of these details, Brett. And that bothers me in 2024 because in 2024, Brett, that can't slide. Even back in, 2009, let's just say, when Bar Rescue started going on, these are the type of things that John Taffer would go crazy over about of who owns the business? Who's in charge here?
Yeah.
But I guess that is the thing that bothers me about this whole thing. And the funny thing is, as I'm on the phone with your wife trying to get her opinion, my wife is over and she's trying to say, well, if you think about this, if you think about that, because her and I have already talked about this twice. And she's giving me her opinion. I'm like, I don't want more of your opinion. I want to hear someone else's opinion. So yeah.
Yes.
Would you like to know what the first thing your wife said to me was?
Sure.
It's God's money, so that's what can I do? It's God's money. I said that's not the right answer, and you know it. But Brett, those are our deep dives, and I'm going a little crazy.
All right. Well, in that case, let us turn to what we learned.
You know anything about the Odyssey?
Huh? Did I say you could talk?
I didn't teach you that.
My friend Mr. Matthews will lead the discussion.
Do I have to draw you a picture?
Yes. Let's paint a picture. Tyler, what did you learn from Security Guy? Aside from there's cake at SAT class prep.
I think the biggest thing I learned, Brett, is I'm thankful that I'm not having these discussions yet. and the hardest discussion that we've been having is just much simpler things like why don't we talk to certain people anymore? And, you know, why do we have to go to the place we have to go to for worship? And, just little things that aren't as huge as, what are you going to do with yourself? Who are you?
Yeah.
Like there's just some fundamental things that we don't have to get into just yet. And I'm thankful that we're not at that stage.
Yes.
What about you, man, who's at that stage?
Yes. I was reassured in that it's never too late to take off the kids' gloves. Well, okay, it is too late at times to take off the kids' gloves, but you shouldn't wait to take off the kids' gloves until it's too late. I have taken the kid gloves off with our older two kids. They have had to experience consequences to choices that they've made at times, and I've been able to be there for them as a father and walk through them with them. But I was reassured that when tough love needs to happen, it needs to happen, and there is a role for me as a father in doing that. That it's a bad thing to keep the kid gloves on.
Yeah.
So.
I'm right?
No, you're exactly right.
So am I done with my education? Can I go?
How would you grade Security Guy?
Now, this is going to be hard to believe that I like this episode based on my ranting throughout this episode. I've had real get off my lawn type of attitude today.
Kids.
But I really like this episode. Honestly, like it's still one of the best episodes of the season. I think I got really defensive of Eric because that's just, there's a part of me that's just super protective of teenagers. And so I felt Eric was being wronged. But as I think through as a parent, that would be real hard to figure out what's the best way to move forward. And realize that we've been ignoring some red flags that we wouldn't allow for other people. And the cake bit is amazing. For all the flaws this episode has, mostly based on our reading in 2024, not because of the time period we're in, this episode is an A. It truly is a great episode on its own. And as long as we're not worried about how one episode at the beginning of the season impacts and also 2 episodes ago or 1 episode ago, just because we're going through this episode by episode and we're thinking about everything through the whole canon, that can't distract from the fact that on its own, this is an incredible and a really good episode. And one with powerful messages and one that would be a really good tool for helping a young person and also parents.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And not another question, please.
I'm on the same page. It's an A for me. I would love to give it an A+, but there's just a few things that hold it back from that.
Yep.
Corey and Feeny scheming to undermine Sean just to get him in the seats. I still have a struggle with that, and just I'm grading it within the realm of 1997. I'm not grading it with the realm of 2024, but Eric being shortchanged by all of a sudden being goofy Eric, goof off Eric, and not having, it sets it up, but we could have gotten there without just having cartoon Eric all of a sudden. But it is a solid A. I come back to this one a lot, and I've said it time and time again. This is a great Alan story for me as well.
Yep.
So
I agree.
Solid A for me. Almost an A+. Almost.
Almost.
Plus, we get a Feeny call.
We do.
Yeah.
More of a direct Feeny call.
Mr. Feeny! Hi, it's Eric. What are you doing? Hi, it's me, Eric. What are you doing? Yes.
Well, Brett, I believe you owe me a dad joke.
I do, and I have 2 of them for you. Yes. So, your vet won't tell you this, but if your dog is running a fever, what you need to do is get some mustard. It's the best thing for a hot dog.
Nice.
Yes.
I see where you went with that. Good.
Yes. I was abducted by aliens once.
Huh.
They made me wash my hands, clean my room, and eat my vegetables. Turns out I was on the mothership.
Very nice.
Yes. And so, good-looking people, that is Dads Meet World, episode 20. 2 more left this season. Thank you for dropping by. You can connect with us through email, dadsmeetworld@gmail.com, on our social media accounts at Facebook, Instagram, and Twitter/X at
No TikTok.
Dads Meet World. No TikTok. Don't find us there. We're not there. And you can find us wherever your favorite podcasts are and leave us a review or a rating, however you do that there. It will help the algorithms spread the dad love to other people, and it will invite more people to find us and discover the joy that the dads bring to the world. I don't know how much sappier I can get with that. Plus, there are sales going on at Threadless all this month, so dadsmeetworld.threadless.com. Get yourself some Dads Meet World merch. Stickers, magnets, shirts. Yes, we're both wearing shirts. Even Steve the Skeleton behind me. Episode's gonna episode shirt.
Yeah.
There he is.
There he is. So until next time, I'll see you, good looking.
Back to you, good looking.
I want to be normal, Spud.
We are the Timmers.
You know, how can I learn so much every week and still be so stupid?
This is good TV.
Dads Meet World is a production of Headfirst Studios. Headfirst Studios. Tell your story.
Why am I not seeing you?
Because I'm invisible.